when we get close to convention, right? It's always that excitement and buzz that we're all going to get a chance to all be together. And this is going to be obviously a very exciting convention. I think the thing that I'm so excited about, obviously there's a lot of different things that are happening this convention for the first time, and we'll go over some of those things that are happening here, and most of you already know, right? But we're going to bring them back to the forefront of your focus. But the big thing right now that I'm more excited about than anything is to watch our new national director, Karen King, share her story. I mean, everybody's heard her story, right? If you haven't, obviously, if you haven't been in Riman long enough, right? But her obviously hitting national director. This is going to be an exciting event, right? It's going to be an exciting event for the entire Riman community. Watching her, at this rank and just really her focus, it inspires everybody, right? It really does. And the inspiration right now that everybody feels by her lifting the lid and lifting the bar. I know that everybody's excited about, obviously, this convention. It's going to be so exciting. And we're going to be talking a little bit about convention. I'll give you some ideas and concepts today about helping you, get more people there between now and obviously the convention, right? We'll talk a little bit about that. I'll share some good ideas about that. But we had a great director call last Wednesday, our director academy. And Mr. Danny Bay talked a lot about, leading by example and setting the pace and setting the tone. And, I think that today, I want to talk a little bit about, with all of you about, building a team, right? Because for me, it's like when I got started in this profession, I never had an experience building a team, right? I mean, I worked at a go-kart track. So obviously it wasn't like I was building teams, right? I wasn't building a team at a go-kart. I mean, I never did anything like this before, right? So building a team and leading a team for many of us is very new, right? So, we get started in Riman and we're like, hey, look, you know what? I'm going to make this thing happen. And when you look at it, obviously, what do we want, right? We want is a massive customer base, right? Of people that have fallen in love with our products, that are basically, they just can't live without it, right? It's like, man, you know what? The compliments I'm getting, these products, I just absolutely love them, right? So we all want to build a huge customer base, right? And we all know we can't build that customer base, right? We really can't build that customer base on our own, right? It's going to be a lot easier. You build a massive organization and a massive team, and everybody's getting customers. So really, it's like we want to all build a team, right? That's really what we want to do. For me, it's like I never did anything like that, right? When I got started, I saw the opportunity and thought maybe something great could happen to me, but I never built a team. I never led an organization or anything like that. So it was so new to me, right? And I was so blessed to have some amazing mentors teach me about how to do it, right? And I just learned from them and watched the examples that they set. So how do you really build a massive organization, right? How do you build a team and lead a team? And I think the biggest thing about leading a team is you want to normalize excellence. That's the biggest thing, right? If you want to build an organization that's succeeding, you want to normalize excellence, right? You want to make excellence normal, right? So how do you normalize excellence? How do you make excellence something that everybody's just this is what we do? Here's the reality is that you've got to be able to, number one, lead yourself. People always ask me, is like, when it comes to leadership, what's probably the most important thing? And I think it always comes down to leading yourself. How do you lead yourself? And if you can learn how to lead yourself successfully, you can learn how to lead others. But you're always going to struggle, right, if you can't lead yourself. So how do you lead yourself, right? How do you lead yourself? How do you, demand excellence from yourself? And if we demand excellence from ourselves, what's going to happen is what? Right? Our team's going to do the same thing, right? Because they're going to do, not everybody, right? Some people, that's okay. But you're going to have people that get inspired by the example that you set, and they're going to want to match, and they're going to want to mirror your effort and your commitment and what you're doing, right? So the biggest thing I think about leading a team is leading yourself, okay? And as you build your organization and you build your team, right? And right now, obviously, we're all team leaders and above on this call, right? So we're already leading an organization. We're already leading a team. And sometimes I know it's hard to look in the like for me, it was like, I'm not a leader, right? That's when I first got started. I'm like, no, I'm just, but what I realized was the example that I set, right, is what was going to impact my team, right? So when I got started in this profession, I didn't realize how important it was to set the pace and set the tone. I didn't really realize how important that was, right? I just did it, because I had some great mentors. But I think the biggest thing is that we've got to realize is that organization and our team that we build is going to buy into the example that we set, right? If we're setting the pace and we're setting the tone and we're overbooking our schedule, because a lot of times it's like, how do I get these people to produce more, right? It's like, how do I get these people to do more, right? The key is not to try to push a rope, right? You try to push a rope, it'll double back on you, right? The only way you can get a rope to move is to grab it from the front and pull it, right? So we've got to lead by example. And when we set that pace and set that tone, what's going to happen is because we're able to, I don't want to say convince ourselves, but I'll just say it, right? I think you can convince yourself to give more, if you can convince yourself to normalize excellence, if you can convince yourself to overbook your schedule with activities, you can convince yourself of it, it's going to be easier for you to persuade your organization to be able to do the same. Your team will do the same, right? Because it really comes down to transference of emotion. Some of you were at the last convention. I talked about how do you get more customers, right? You fall more in love with the products. How do you get more team members, right? You fall more in love with the opportunity. How do you lead your team and inspire your team? Is fall in love with the activity, right? If I fall in love with sharing the Riman opportunity, guess what's going to happen to my team? They're going to be inspired too. So what I do is I just love sharing the Riman. I just love talking to people about the opportunity. I just love sharing, my mentor called it, he said phase one activity, right? Phase one activity is sharing the product, sharing the opportunity, right? You want to just stay in phase one. You don't want to get into management mode. But you're like, well, how do I not get into management mode but lead an organization? You just lead it from the front. You lead by example, right? When we lead by example, what happens is we convince ourselves to do the activities. And when you convince yourself to do the activities, what happens, right? Your team's going to be inspired to be able to do the same. So I think a lot of success in Riman is about just raising our personal excitement, right? Our personal passion, right? Our personal commitment, right? The more commitment that we make, what happens? Our team's going to be able to do the same. But when you say, okay, this is where I operate, this is how I operate, and you raise that bar, now your team's going to see the example that you set, and they're going to want to do what? They're going to want to follow that example, right? So I think the biggest thing when you talk about normalizing excellence and building a team and leading a team is really just leading yourself. When you lead yourself and you say, hey, I'm going all in, you're going to inspire other people. So sometimes it's like, you're like, how do I get more out of these people? How do I get people to step up? My mentor was like, don't worry about having them step up, Tim. You just step up. And you fall in love with sharing the opportunity. You share in love with giving 110% effort. And what's going to happen is the example you set, you're going to demand it out of other people just by the example that you set. So it's not like trying to get people to do something. It's just really just trying to get yourself to do something, right? If you raise your excitement, you raise your passion, you raise your belief and say, hey, look, you know what? This is it, right? I'm going to give it everything that I got. Other people are going to be inspired to be able to do the same thing, right? That's the biggest thing, I think, more than anything else when it comes down to leadership. Because a lot of you right now, you're like, how do I go from where I'm at right now to doing a lot more volume to become a director? And then sometimes you might even have doubt, right? You might be like, oh, can I really do it or whatever? And sometimes, you beat yourself up a little bit because it's not happening fast enough for you. But the reality is it's a series of aha moments. What happens is a series of aha moments that happen in your business that takes your belief system to another level. And I always use Mr. Danny Bay as an example because we watch the way that he operates right now, right? And it inspires everybody. Like there's no way that, when you see somebody making that type of commitment, that it can't be, if you're not inspired by his activity, right? If you're not on fire by watching the way that he operates, right? If you're not on fire, your wood is wet, right? That's what my mentor would always say. If you're not on fire, your wood is wet, right? So, you watch the way that he operates and it's like, man, you know what? He's leading by example. And that's really what leadership is leading by example, right? He's obviously all in on working hard, right? He's convinced himself to give 110%. So when we convince ourselves to give 110%, what happens, right? Other people are going to be inspired by the commitments that we make. But you got to realize that Mr. Danny Bay, he wasn't always amazing like he is now. You guys see that? And the advantage that I have is I've got a chance to see him when he first got started, right? I got to see him before he became great Danny Bay, right? I got a chance to be able to see him very, very early on in his career. And to watch that, like watching him now, you're like, man, it just goes to show you that we've all got it in us, right? If you would have saw me on day one, you would have, honestly, like if you had me in your organization, you would be like, who signed this kid up, right? Just think about if there was a 17-year-old kid in your organization, right, with long hair working at a go-kart track. You wouldn't be like, man, this guy, woo, we got a good one here. So what you want to realize is that it's a growth process, right? And it's the same for all of us. Where we are right now and where we're going to be when we hit director, or like obviously Miss Karen King hitting national director. That's huge. That's an absolutely amazing accomplishment. So you go, okay, she's not the same person that she was at the beginning, right? Some of you, there's a handful of people that got to see her at the very beginning, right? And you watch that transformation that's happening. Even some of you right now that have seen her maybe only a year, right? Or only a year and a half or whatever, however long you've been in Riman, she's gotten so much better. Like when I listen to her talk compared to like whenever I first got started, I'm like, whoa, it's unbelievable, the growth. So we just got to realize the person that we are today isn't necessarily going to be the person that we're going to be when we hit national director or senior director or one of these bigger positions. It's going to be a transformation process. But we have to realize that, guess what? We've got to be open-minded to allowing that to happen. Right? We have to say, okay, look, you know what? That can happen. I can become that person. Right? I can impact people. And sometimes we look at ourselves and we, what about me? What about me? Everybody. It doesn't matter what your past experiences are, right? It doesn't matter. Like, when I got started, they said, this is the norm. This is the average person's best chance. Direct sales, network marketing. This is the average person's best chance. And for me, I was like, wait a second, what about below average people, right? They're like, yeah, for you too, right? But you realize, right, if you look at the average, this is an average, right? That's where the majority of people operate. There's a big group down here. This is where I was, right? I was below average. But there was a lot of people down there. So I was able to attract a lot of people because there was a lot of people like me. So you don't necessarily have to be some amazing, unbelievable presenter or some unbelievable leader, right? To be able to do what, right? To be able to have massive success. You're going to transform into that person. You're going to become that person. And it's just a process. And the process is these aha moments. And you never know when that was going to happen, right? It might be a conversation with with your upline, right? It might be a training, right? It might be a Zoom, right? Where you have that trigger in your mind. You say, you know what? This is it. I'm going to take it to the next level, right? I'm going to step it up, right? I'm going to demand more for myself, right? Than I could possibly, even fathom, right? Than most people can even imagine. And there was a great basketball player, and I'm not a basketball fan, but there's this really great basketball player a long time ago. His name was Dr. J, right? I think and he one of his famous quotes is, "I demand more from myself than anybody could possibly imagine." And that's what I think it comes down to, is that it's not about, being the hardest worker in Riman, right? And Danny set the pace, and we look at the way he operates, and we're like, I don't think I could ever operate like that, right? I don't know if I'd physically be able to be alive, right? The guy's just an absolute machine, right? I always tell him, man, you're like a robot, right? You know what I mean? Like, but you realize that if that's the biggest commitment on the planet, right? It's like we fall somewhere in between, but wherever we are, what happens when we go to that next level? We'll just push it a little bit more, right? We just go, okay, maybe last week, this is what my schedule looks like. I'm going to add more to it. Because who's in control of our schedule? Who's in control of our schedule, right? We are. Who's in control of how many people we talk to? We are, right? We are in control of that. And if you want to get more from your team, just get more from yourself. So I just wanted to kind of give you a few ideas and concepts about this, right? Because it's been on my heart lately, mainly coming off of that director call. Mr. Danny Bay was talking about that last Wednesday. I was like, man, it's so good. To me, it was like the best director academy that we've ever had. And I know I can tell you right now, Team Leader Academy that's going to be happening, right? I think it's next Wednesday. Let me see. But you guys know whenever the Team Leader Academy happens, right? I can assure you it's going to be a really great call. And it's because of whenever you're convincing yourself 100% and you're leading by example, you become more convincing to others, right? Whenever you've been able to say to yourself, hey, look, you know what? And it's not about beating yourself up ever saying, hey, look, you know what, I could be doing a little bit more and I'm not. And then you get down on yourself. You just say, hey, look, you know what, I'm going to give more. Right. Because when you think about it, I always say, hey, we're not crocodiles. You know what I mean? We're not a crocodile. We're not a bird. Right. We're not a tree. Right. Trees are kind of stuck. Right. They can't really, you know what I mean? They can't, if you're a tree, you're just like, dang. All right. I'm just kind of right here. But we're human beings. Right. You know, we're not driven by instinct and the genetic code. See that? Like we can change who we are. And that's really how we do that is by pushing ourselves just a little bit more, right? Whatever our schedule looked like last week, I'm not saying double it, right? Or triple the amount of activity you did last week. But what happens if you just give a little bit more? When you're pushing yourself and you're giving a little bit more, it's that last call or that last Zoom or that last pop up or that, whatever, that little last activity, whenever you think, hey, look, you know what, I can't give any more, and you give a little bit more, that's when you attract those great people to you. That's how you attract those amazing people into your life, right? So I think the biggest thing about leading people is leading yourself, right? And that's going to go right into, you know, the convention promotion, right? Promoting the convention. Okay, promoting the convention is obviously, that's where people make that decision, right? That's how people make the decision to say, hey, look, I'm going to take this business way more serious from all the things that have happened at that event, the energy in the room, the excitement, all the now this event's going to be amazing. We're going to have all these amazing product, these new product drops or these product announcements of when these things are all coming. Right? I don't even know. I don't know what's coming, what's about to come. I don't really ask a lot of questions like that. I just talk to people, right? Find people to talk to and talk to them. But here's what I'll tell you: is there's going to be a lot of exciting things that are happening about about all these new products. Right? We all know that. So this might be the product. Whoa, this thing's happening, right? And people's minds, just open up, right? But it might be just a conversation, right? Maybe we're going to be doing the breakout sessions this time, right? The little 45-minute sessions. I'll go over the calendar. Some of you, majority of you, obviously know, but it might be a breakout session, right? It might be a conversation that somebody has, and coming out of the bathroom with somebody, right? You might be coming out of the bathroom and you see somebody that you know, and you're like, what's up? And then you might have a conversation and boom, that light bulb goes on. You never know when it is going to happen, right? You might see, Mr. Danny Bay in the lobby, right, of the hotel, and you just walk up to him and he says a few words to you. And then all of a sudden, bam, right? That light bulb goes on. So you never know when that thing's going to happen, but you got to get people in that environment so there's a chance that it can happen, right? You got to put people in that environment so there's a chance that it can happen. Because that's where we all make the decisions, right? You build your business event to event, right? We all know that, okay? Because we want to get people that environment. But as you're promoting it to people, right, you know how important these events are, right? We all know these events are everything, right? We all know that. But guess who doesn't know that? Your brand new people. Your brand new people don't understand how powerful these are. So then it becomes our responsibility and our job to move them into action, right? Meaning what? Moving them to make a commitment to go. So how do we do that? How do we get people to be at the event? Think about what I'm saying. How do we get that to happen? Number one is what? We raise our excitement and belief in the event. That's number one, right? You know what I mean? Like you got to be like, I can't wait for this event. And the more excited and passionate you are about it, you transfer that emotion or you transfer that excitement. What's going to happen to other people? Right? We can transfer that emotion and get them to feel the same way that we feel about something. They're going to want to move into action. But what happens when we're talking to somebody and we're trying to get them to commit, right? We're calling somebody up. We're trying to, we're on a phone call with somebody and we're trying to push them over the edge, right? We got a senior manager that we know could be great, right? We got this manager that we know has got everything that it takes to win, right? You look at him and you're like, golly, this person's so great. But maybe they're not really committed yet to the convention. You're like, how do I get this person here? And then we get into a conversation with them, and what happens, right? Sometimes we get a little bit of resistance, right? We get a little bit of resistance from somebody, and as soon as we get resistance, what happens then? You guys, that's the magic right there. When you get resistance, what do you do at that point? When somebody's giving you, I don't want to say an excuse, right? But they're giving you a reason why they can't make it to the event. What do you do at that moment, right? Well, most of us, right? How do we operate? we operate from that standpoint that we want people to like us, right? A lot of people want, oh, I want my people to like me. But sometimes, my mentor said, hey, I'm not here to be liked, I'm here to lead, right? So you got to realize sometimes you got to have that hard-nosed dialogue with somebody to get them to kind of commit to going. So how do we do that? It's no different than whenever you're signing somebody up as a customer, right? What happens when somebody's giving you a reason why they can't buy the product? What do? We're giving you what we all call as an objection. What is an objection? An objection is a buying sign. Let me say it again. An objection is a buying sign. When somebody says something about like, hey, look, you know what? I just bought this product, right? I just, I've got a lot of skincare, right? What do? Right? We find a way to overcome it, right? We're really good at doing that, right? Even when we're signing somebody up and they're like, man, I like it. It sounds good, but I just really don't have a lot of time. What are they saying when they say I don't have a lot of time? They're saying, show me how to make this business work, right? On a part-time basis, right along with what I'm doing right now. That's what they're saying. So an objection's a buying sign, right? If somebody says, oh, I want to buy your product, or if somebody's like, I like the product, sounds really interesting, but I have a lot of skincare, right? What they're saying is what? Help me understand why I got to get this product and just take all that other stuff and throw in the garbage, right? To me, that's what they're saying, right? They're saying, hey, so it's the same thing with overcoming objections never stop. It never stops. Even with ourselves, right? We're overcoming objections, right? If we get a thought in our mind of like, oh, and you're kind of complaining about something or something's upsetting you, you've got to learn how to overcome that objection in your mind, right? Because if you have that objection in your mind, everybody else is going to have that same objection. Why are we not running for director right now, right? Why is that? And there might be something that you're holding on to in your mind, and you got to learn how to overcome that objection. You can overcome that objection, and then you unlock yourself and you give it everything that you got. You turn that switch on where you just start going all in, consistent over a long period of time. You have to first overcome that objection, whatever's holding you back right now from unleashing greatness, right? So overcoming objections never stop. But when it comes to conventions, we got to realize it's no different, right? It's easy. Everyone's like, oh, the products, I can overcome any objection when it comes to the products. Man, these products, what they've done for my face, oh my God, you know what I mean? I don't look the same. Every day I get compliments. I got to get these people to feel this, got to try this stuff. If they try this stuff, they're going to get so it's easier for us to overcome the product because we've seen a transformation in our own face. But maybe some of us haven't became, where we want to be financial with the Riman opportunity yet, right? We're not basically making that, that Karen Kane money, right? Or we're not making that, that Steve money, right? That big money. So it's like, wait a second, but it's the same thing. It's a process, and we have to know that it's going to happen no matter what, right? If we know that no matter what, my mentor said the only way to fail, number one, is not get started, and number two, quit. The only way you can fail in Riman is not get started. Well, we're all in, okay? And as long as we don't quit, keep talking to people, we're going to find the people that see the opportunity the same way that we see it. We just got to see it that way. We will find other people. So when we're overcoming objections for the convention, we've got to be non-negotiable about it. We got to be non-debatable about it, right? We got to have a little bit of confidence to be able to push a little bit, right? Because the longer that you've been in Riman, right, and the bigger your organization grows, the more success you have, and the more success you help other people get, you'll have so many people come up to you and be like, you know what? It was a conversation that we had. I was sitting on the fence, and you talked to me, and you gave me a call, and you pushed me over the edge. You come to the event, and then I went to that event. Light bulb went on. I saw the big picture, and I'm a success today because you pushed me to come to the event, right? A lot of us maybe haven't had that experience happen yet, right? Where somebody becomes a director or becomes one of these higher ranks, and you're like, wow, it was me pushing that person over the edge. But I'm telling you, it happens all the time, right? It happens all the time throughout my career. In the last 30 years, I've had it happen so many times where I pushed somebody to a big event, and that light bulb went on, and they said, hey, I would never be who I am today. Right. I wouldn't have that success if I didn't come to that event where that light bulb went on for me. Right. So realizing that we've got to understand that we've got to raise our excitement and belief, right, about the events. And then when we're talking to people and they have an objection, I don't know if I can really make it. It's going to be hard for me to find a sitter. What are they saying? Right. They're saying, help me understand, right, how I can go get a sitter and how important this is So every time you're hearing an objection, it's a buying sign. Okay. If somebody just flat out says to you, hey, look, you know what? I'm not going 100%. There's 0% chance I'm going to that event, 0% chance. Right? You already know, hey, that person's not going, right? You know what I mean? If they're like, if you're on the phone call with them and they're like hanging up on you, they're not hanging up on you, but you get what I'm saying? You can see when somebody's not going to go, right? But if somebody's giving you some resistance and they're giving you an objection, they're asking you for your leadership and your confidence to push them over the edge. So the first thing we want to do is look at who do we have coming? Who do we have coming to the event? And you want to make a list. And then you also want to have a list of people that you want to get to the event. Somebody says, Tim, it's only like, it's only like 3 weeks away. Those are the people that get the most out of it. You guys got to remember the people that need the event the least, right? The people that need the event the least, they're the easiest ones to get there. It's the people that need it the most, right, are going to be the ones that are going to be more resistant. So if somebody needs the event, right, they need the event. Like they need the event. You know what I'm talking about when I say that. You know, if this person needs the event, they're going to be more inclined to not want to go because that's just the way that they're operating. So we've got to learn how to push, but it's that last minute decision where someone's like, oh my God, yeah, I'm going to go. They're going to come out of the event absolutely on fire. It's why? Because they needed it the most, right? And you had the confidence and you had the leadership, right? And you had the ability to persuade them to come to the event with your own conviction, right? With your own confidence, right? With your own belief system. And you got them to go, you knock them over the edge. So we have to have that list of people, not just the ones that are going right now, but the ones that we want to go. Who are the people that we want to get to the event? Who are the people that are sitting on the fence right now that maybe haven't committed yet? What happens if you spend time getting them committed to the event? You see what happens, right? It's that 1 or 2 or 3 people that you push to the event where that difference is made, right? So we want to realize that whatever we've got going on to the event right now, that's not, we can still get people there, right? And when a brand new person gets started, what does that dialogue and conversation look like about the event? Some of us are like, oh God, it's Vegas, it's far. They live in, Ohio. I don't know where they live. You're like, I gotta, and you're like, I gotta push this person there, but in your mind, you're like, it's kind of far. Tickets, da, 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 da. Now we gotta have a belief system. And if we're like, man, no matter what you've got going on, you gotta cancel it. You gotta be at this event, and we show like 100% confidence. What's gonna happen? Number one, we're gonna get more people to go. Number one, but number two is they're gonna realize how important it is. They're going to realize how important it is. And maybe it might be a situation where that person doesn't get pushed over the edge, right? We're not able to get that person there. Since we were non-negotiable, non-debatable, right whenever the registration opens up for the next event, bam, they might be the first one to buy a ticket because they feel like, man, I should have been there at that event. So nothing bad ever happens, right? When you are saying, hey, look, you know what? I'm 100% no matter what, getting everybody to the event, right? When you have that kind of non-negotiable, non-debatable attitude, when you have that non-negotiable, non-debatable attitude, it's nothing bad's ever going to happen, right? Because even if you can't get them to really make that decision to be persuaded to go, realizing what, even though that didn't happen, right? You get them, they're going to see the commitment and conviction that you have in the event, and it's going to inspire them for the next one, right? But we want to get them there to make sure that they are around for the next one. You guys understand what I'm saying? It's kind of like my mentor said, only brush the teeth that you want to keep. Right? It's only don't brush the teeth that you want to keep. So it's the same thing with this business as you get the people there that you understand, get the people there that you care about, right? We're not, so we got to have that non-debatable, non-negotiable attitude. And when we do, and we overcome objections, you understand, that's whenever we're going to push those last people there, because an objection is a buying sign, right? An objection is a buying sign. An excuse, right, or a complaint is a buying sign. When somebody complains to you about something, all they're saying is, hey, help me remove this complaint in my brain so I can take massive action. Everything's always the same thing. It's always about overcoming objections and getting people to think the right way. So let me just real quickly go over, obviously, all the exciting things that are happening right now. We'll start off, obviously, with the promotion. Everybody knows right now, we've got the promotion right now that's happening. This is an exciting promotion, right? Because obviously we all know, right? We want to create what? Right? We want to create, senior manager factory, right? We want to get everybody to senior manager. We want to get everybody saying, hey, look, you know what? I'm going to be a senior manager no matter what. So how do we do that? How do we get everybody to senior manager? Well, we promote what? The senior manager promotion right now that's happening. So anybody right now that does what? That becomes a senior manager within 30 days of their start date, if they got started in the month of July, they're going to earn that $300 bonus. But the sponsor is going to do what? The sponsor is going to earn a $200 bonus. You see that? So we want to make sure that we're promoting this like never before. Why? Because goals inspire people, right? People have a goal, and that's what people need, right? People need a goal. They need an objective. They need to be able to say, okay, this is what we're doing, right? Now, some people are not going to hit their goals, but just because they go for it means they're going to be better off than they would have been if they didn't go for it, right? If you strive for perfection, you might not ever reach it. The striving part, that's what's going to make you great. When you demand more from yourself, right? And you push yourself, you're never, you might not be in a situation where you're ever given a true 100% effort, but because you're pushing yourself, you're going to be better off. It's the same thing with goal setting. We have to have those goals, right? We all know we have to have these goals. I don't know if this slide deck's coming up right now. Let me try again. I'm over here talking about. Oh, there it goes. So we all know what's happening in the month of July, right? Everybody's pushing for this promotion, right? Everybody's running right now, getting all of our brand new people committed, right? We're getting all of our brand new people committed. When somebody signs up, we want to get them committed to make sure they take advantage of this, right? And it's not that $300 is life changing. It's not like anybody, hopefully nobody got started in Riman to make $300, right? But we gotta realize it's perfect because we want people to get victory, right? And 30 days of enrollment, anybody can do that, right? We all know that. If somebody can do it in 3 months, they can do it in 1 month. Why? Because it's the same activity. Okay. How many people does it take? We all hit senior manager at one point, right? Some of us got started senior manager, but a lot of us hit it, right? So how did you hit senior manager? Or we've helped people hit senior manager. It's going to take a certain amount of activity, isn't it? It takes a certain amount of activity. How many people do we have to talk to, right? How many people do we have to talk to be able to enroll people in the opportunity? How many people do we have to talk to get people to say, hey, man, I want to buy the products? So realizing that it's a certain amount of activity, guess what, right? We can do that activity faster, right? And we can condense the time frame. And then what happens is we're going to create more senior managers faster. And that's what we all want, right? We all know that, when you become a senior manager factory, what happens to our organization, right? What happens to our team, right? We demanded excellence. We made sure that everybody's winning on our organization. As a result of that, right, you create this senior manager factory and you create this culture within your organization, this winning culture. So realizing this promotion is perfect, but we have to make sure, like, think about this. All the brand new people that have gotten started this month, right? In Riman, right? If somebody called them and asked them, tell me about the senior manager bonus, how many of them would really know about it? You guys see that? So we have to make sure that when these brand new people are getting started in our organization, that we're doing what? Right, that we're getting them inspired and excited to do what? To be able to hit this promotion, right? We have to make sure that it's at the forefront of their brain, because if we get them running for it, they're going to become a senior manager faster than they would be if they don't know about it, right? So we have to understand that how powerful this promotion is, because we want to get people winning, right? We want to get people obviously doing what, right? We all know, hey, look, however many senior managers I create, my success is going to be determined by that. Okay, if you're doing, let's say that you're creating, 3 or 4 or 5, let's say you're creating 5 new senior managers every month consistently. You're doing, as a team leader, if that's open line volume, you're doing 50,000, right? You know what I mean? We know that from example, like from watching and tracking the numbers. So if you're doing 50,000 in SP a month as a team leader, you're in a good position. How do you get there? Well, if you're creating, 5, 6 senior managers a month, you're easily doing that, right? So we want to realize that we get everybody focused in on getting to senior manager, get the senior manager factory. Guess what's going to happen, right? We're going to create massive volume, right? That's how you're going to go from the volume that you're doing now to the volume that you need to become a director, right? How do we raise that bar, right? How do we raise that bar of volume, right? We get more people to do what? Hit senior manager. How do we get more people to hit senior manager? Super simple, right? We promote the senior manager bonus. Another thing that we can promote is what? Right? The senior manager and above leadership training in Vegas, right? We'll talk about that in a second. So this is big right here. This to me is a really exciting promotion because it benefits the sponsor. The sponsor has an incentive to want to develop obviously a senior manager, and also the brand new planner has, obviously an incentive to hit senior manager. Okay. We all know about Bahamas, right? We're all running for that. We know what it looks like. make sure you always understand that when you look at this as 1, 2, 3, right? 3 for open line performance, you're going to get 40 travel points for hitting team leader 10,000 SP. But when you hit 20,000 SP, you're going to get 80 travel points, right? If so you got to realize, every 10,000 in sales points that you get, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get another what? 40 travel points, right? So we want to make sure that we're pushing hard every single month to maximize it, right? What happens if you get 100 in senior manager open line, 100,000 in senior manager open line, right? You can do the math, right? You're talking about 400 travel points. So we want to make sure that we realize that, guess what? We want to raise the bar, right? How do we make that happen, right? We just decide, hey, this is it, right? We're going to make it happen. So we all know what it looks like. I'm not going to go into that. We're all leaders and above over here. But everybody right now is running for this right now. Big thing, obviously, that everybody's major focus is right now, 7th, 8th, and 9th, Las Vegas, GM Grand is going to be happening. Everybody's excited about this, okay? We all know about this. You guys all have this QR code, right now. And then you guys all know about the rooms, right? Okay, that are available at the MGM. We all know about that, right? So, but here's what I want to touch on, right? Is when you look at the schedule, Saturday from 12 to 4, these master classes are going to be 45-minute deep dive sessions on a variety of different business enhancing topics. So sometimes, at a convention, there's only a few topics that we can hit from the main stage, right? There's only a few topics that we can hit from the main stage. We don't have the time restraints to be able to talk about everything, right? But in these master classes, we can break down, and you're going to be able to pick kind of the ones that you want to go to. Maybe you want to learn more about this, you want to learn more about that. And you look at the schedule for these master classes, you can go attend these. So this is something that's really exciting because it's going to give everybody that opportunity to be able to get more insights, right? To be able to, it's almost like, when you go to a restaurant, you don't, sometimes, when you look at a menu, you get a, kind of be like that. You get a pick, right? What you want from the menu, right? So just realize that 12 to 4 on Friday, we're going to be doing these master classes. Excitement around these is amazing. You're going to be getting a lot more information about that. And then obviously 4 to 6, what's going on? Right, we all know the senior manager and above training. So we want to make sure that everybody right now in our organization, on our team that is coming to the event, we want to make sure that we help them get into that event, right? Get into that 4 to 6 p.m. senior manager and above training. You see how smart that is? Get everybody running right now, okay? So we want to make sure that we're non-negotiable, non-debatable about getting everybody in there for that 2-hour above leadership training, because that's going to be powerful. Now, then obviously at night, from 7:30 to 10, we all know the team leader night, right? Well, this is big. Okay, a lot of us have got people right now in our organization that are running right in our team. We got people on our team right now that are running for team leader. They're running to be able to be a part of that team leader night. So we want to make sure, no matter what, right, that we get them there, right? And it says down at the bottom, okay, when you can read down there at the bottom, right, basically, what it takes to be able to qualify for it, right? Look, anybody that's became a team leader between April 1st and July 31st has either achieved the rank of team leader or maintained previously rank of team leader by accruing 10,000, right, in sales points in their team leader open in at least one calendar month. So obviously, that's a no-brainer. We've got, so some people right now, maybe you've got team leaders that have got people under them that are running for this. We've got to be non-negotiable about getting brand new people promoted. We got till July 31st to get people qualified for the team leader night. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Obviously, we know the Saturday session, okay, what's happening there, right? We're going to be going from 9 to 6:30, right? We're going to have a little break, obviously, in between. But then Sunday, we got the general session from 9 to 1, okay? And I believe we're going to be having there it is, the worship service right there from 7 to 8 a.m. in the ballroom, right? The premier ballroom. So we want to make sure that everybody, when they come out of that worship service, everybody loves it. It's been so amazing. The last event, everybody was excited about that. That was at that worship service. Obviously, it's optional, right? We're not going to be, pushing anything, but people that are believers, I'm telling you what, it's a great place to go. It's going to be a great worship service. That's at 7 to 8 a.m. in the premier ballroom. I want to make sure I put that in there. Some of us, when we looked at this agenda, you might have missed that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the team leader. This is going to be it right here, the team leader night. This is the thing right here that's driving a lot of volume because nobody wants to miss out on this. Everybody that's on this call that has been to one of these team leader, events, everybody loves it, right? Everybody loves that event. For most people, it's the highlight of the entire convention, the entire weekend is this team leader night. So we understand how important it is that for the people right now that are running for team leader, that we don't let them get left behind, right? We want to make sure that we get everybody qualified for the team leader night. This is going to be, people are going to walk out of this thing, man. It's that feeling you get about being around the top leadership, right? Seeing, hearing from the owners, and hearing from Mr. Danny Bay and Betty Perez, and hearing from, the North American leadership. You guys, people get so excited coming out of this, right? It's those conversations, right? This is where those conversations and that magic happens, right? Where somebody had a conversation with somebody and then that light bulb goes on. So we want to make sure, and we got DJ Rankin going to be there. Everybody loves this guy. We just want to realize that this is going to be big, right? Dine and dance at the top Riman leadership, corporate executives. Basically, we're going to party with the best right there. So we're talking about this. This is the buzz right now. This is really what's going to drive a lot of brand new volume right now for you this month, is finding out who right now is running for team leader so they can be a part of this team leader night, and making sure that we go all in on getting them there, right? We want to make sure that if you create a team leader, or 2 or 3 open line, brand new open line team leaders, your organization is going to take off like a rocket ship, right? That's how you're going to go to director. That's how you're going to start doing massive amounts of volume. And how you do that is by turning yourself into a team leader factory. How do we do that? Obviously with the senior manager factory, finding those brand new people, helping them get that fast start bonus. So just wanted to talk to you, everybody, about really the event, touch on that real quickly. And, the excitement right now, it really is through the roof, okay? Because we know that this event is going to do so much for people. This event is going to get people going, okay. I honestly think that after this event, it's always at an event, right? You understand? It's like trying to double volume or triple volume, right? It's not very easy, right? It's not very easy. It's hard to sometimes double volume or triple volume just with your daily method of operation. I'm just telling you, from 30 years doing this, that's what I can tell you. Like, if you're just mainly the higher volume that you're doing, right? When you're doing $1 million in volume, or you're doing 500,000 a month in volume, you try to double that to, trying to take 500,000 to $1 million. It's not easy, right? Trying to take $1 million to $2 million is not easy, right? Just by your daily method of operation, right? You're like, I'm going to change my DMO. I'm going to do more one-on-ones, and I'm going to do more pop-ups, and I'm going to talk to more people, and I'm going to launch more people. Well, doubling your volume when you're doing massive volume is really challenging. Okay, but when you over promote the event, you get everybody to the event will do it for you, right? The event's how you do it, right? That's the magic and the secret to the business, right? So some of you right now, your volume is not as high as you want it to be, but if you promote this event, your team's going to come out of there absolutely laser focused. And that's how we're going to be able to create massive momentum. So you've got to learn how to overcome those objections, right? We got to learn how to, just because somebody's giving you resistance, don't understand there's a big difference between a rejection and an objection. An objection is a buying sign. An objection is, objections are good because that tells you where you need to spend more attention and time on to get somebody to make that decision to come to decide, right? So it says RSVP. There it is. Linda says it says RSVP by 7/18. Well, okay. So I would just say for that one, Linda, it'll be in the team leader chat, right? We're all part of the North American team leader chat. We're part of that. If you're not, obviously talk to your director. They'll get you that information about that. But it'll all that information, I'm sure, will be in there. Katie's going to keep us up to date on that. But also people that qualify, obviously, by July 31st can still go, right? According to that plan. So what's that mean is what? Right? We're still going to be able to get people, obviously, that are brand new into that event. So we want to be running right now like never before. We want to have that, that confidence and that certainty, right? And passion to say, hey, look, you know what? I'm going to get more people there. I'm going to get more people to this event, right? It might just be like an extra 5 people, right? It might be an extra, it might be 1 person. It might be 1, I don't know. But I'm telling you, it's that little bit more, right? It's that little bit more. Okay. Some of you've got big organizations, bigger teams. It might be an extra 100 people. It might be an extra 50 people. I don't know what it's going to be for you. But what I can tell you is all you can do, right, is all you can do, right? The best you can do is the best you can do. And I'm telling you right now that nobody that ever gave their best ever regretted it. So let's make a commitment right now in our heart and our mind to say, hey, look, you know what? I'm going all out this week, right? This is going to be the week where I'm going to set forth in motion massive momentum because I'm going to decide that I'm going to lead myself better than ever before. That I'm going to make a list of people right now that are in my organization that are coming, and then the people that are not coming. And guess what I'm going to do? Right? I'm going to push those people that are sitting on the fence, get them to come to the event. Right? What am I going to do? I'm going to grab my brand new people. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm getting them all running right now. for senior manager, right? We're going to take advantage of the senior manager, obviously, promotion right now that's in place, right? I'm going to start creating senior managers right now like never before. I'm going to promote the senior manager bonus. I'm going to promote, obviously, coming to the senior manager and above 4 to 6 Friday training. We can't let anybody miss that, right? So we just got to decide right now that we're going to step up our game, right? That we're going to say, hey, look, you know what? I'm going to leave myself better, right? I'm going to give 110%, right? I'm going to give more, right? Sometimes you can't maybe, give, right? You're not maybe going to, you're not going to be able to maybe match Mr. Danny Bay's schedule, right? Oh my goodness, right? You might not be able to, he's Singapore right now, jumping on plane in the Philippines, going to be over here, and you're like, whoa, he's everywhere, right? So might not be able to match that type of commitment, but I'm telling you what, right now, let that inspire you. Let that inspire you to say, hey, look, you know what? I'm going to give it more, right? I'm going to give my absolute very best, right? I'm going to push myself this week to go a little bit more, right? I'm going to put more. I'm going to overbook my schedule. That's why I tell people, right? The secret is found in your daily agenda, right? I'm going to overbook my schedule with money making activities. That's what I'm going to do. Right? I'm going to overbook my schedule with money making activities. I'm going to push myself a little bit more and a little bit more. And then what happens is, any of you that, you know how it is, right? Whether it be exercise or whatever it is that you're doing, you push yourself a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and then you normalize excellence. You normalize excellence after a period of time of just giving it a little bit more. So let's push ourselves this week to say, hey, look, you know what? I'm going to give more. I'm going to give it my all, right? I'm going to stay laser focused, and I'm going to help people right now on my team. I'm going to help them win. How am I going to help my team win? Right, by me leading myself. And I'm going to inspire other people with the activity that I give this week. This is my time. This is my chance, right? I'm telling you right now, some of you right now are running for director, but some of you right now, it's a little bit of a stretch, right? You might be, 400,000 or 500,000 away. You're like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do 500,000 in the next 2 weeks, Tim. Right? But I'm telling you right now, you've got to decide that you're going to the next level. And it starts by promoting the event. How many people do you need like yourself? Right? How many people do you need like yourself to become a director, right? To be able to be committed like you are. All we got to do is raise that belief, raise the standard of excellence that we have for our organization by doing it for ourselves. And when we raise that bar, man, I'm telling you what, people are going to follow the lead that we set. So let's lead by example. Let's give it everything that we got this week. Let's go all in, all out. And I'm excited to see everybody. You guys, we're going to have so much fun in Vegas. You guys see, it's going to be an event to remember. So appreciate everybody's time here today. Hopefully a couple ideas that I shared gave you a couple ideas that you can implement into your business, right? All you need is 1 or 2 good ideas and a series of good ideas for that lock to open up. So appreciate your time. Appreciate your commitment. Let's go all out massive action to make it happen. Love you all. Can't wait to see everybody in Vegas. Take care, everybody.